B811 Transport. We are rolling around in Fairfield, California in one of her... Actually, this is not just a wheelchair accessible van. This is a big van. How many seats is this?
So this is not a wheelchair van. This is an ambulatory only van. This is a 7-passenger Ford Transit. And so I have multiple accounts, multiple brokers. What I found with the transportation business is I have a lot of private pay clients, but I also have contracts with different brokers to kind of fill in like when there's some downtime. And so with those transportation brokers, I want to say 95% of those clients are ambulatory.
Okay.
So that's why I have the 2 ambulatory vans. But for the private pay, I would say 95% or 98% of my private pay are wheelchair clients, and then the others are pretty much ambulatory.
Okay.
So this van and my other van are strictly for ambulatory clients. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I want to give a special shout out to Mr. Howard Berkowitz for introducing me to Roslyn, who is one of Bambi's star customers. Roslyn, tell us about the founding of B811 Transport. Why'd you do it?
My brother succumbed to his illness April 23rd of this year. But I started the business in his name and in his honor. Well, not in his name, but in his honor, to help those such as himself who, you know, can't afford like medical transportation, non-emergency medical transportation, help those who can't afford it, you know, be able to, you know, get transportation need at a, you know, low cost. B811 is partnered with Solano Transportation Authority, and STA provides a subsidy. So we're able to give low-income seniors or disabled individuals who are ADA certified, we're able to give them transportation at a subsidized rate through Solano Transportation Authority. And then also, we also provide rides to our recurring clients. In honor of my brother, on a Sunday of their birthday, we provide a free ride to them, right at no cost, to any restaurant of their choice or any activity. We've given rides to the movies. We've given rides to football games. We've given rides to restaurants. And again, these is at no cost. It's on a Sunday because we typically don't run on Sundays or operate on Sundays. So we provide these clients at no cost these trips. And what we found was, it changes their, it really, really, really lifts their spirit, right?
That's
These
awesome.
people are, you know, all they see is doctors and nurses, and they don't get to see. This one lady said, I want to go to my old stomping ground, and I took her to a restaurant that she used to frequent all the time for her birthday. This one lady, she wanted to go to the movies. She wanted to see Tom Cruise?
Mission Impossible?
Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
And just to see her face like light up, because, you know, the things that we take for granted, like a simple trip to the movies, these people haven't been outside of their bed or in years, months. And so that's one of the things that we give back to the community. We do, like I said, offer the subsidized rides, and then we offer these free rides to our clients, you know, to any place that they want to go to. And then what they do is they'll come back and say, hey, I want to go to the movies. Can we book a ride to the movies or whatever? And we, you know, if it's something like that, we do charge, but we don't charge like a full rate because it's on a Sunday.
Yeah.
But, and then if I do that, typically my drivers, instead of them getting paid their hourly rate, whatever. So what I do is, if my drivers, whoever's transporting that particular client on that day, whatever the client pays, I just give the driver that. So we don't even, the business doesn't even take that in. That goes straight to whoever's driving.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you something that it's probably on the minds of a lot of people who have small NEMT companies or are just starting out. Roslyn, you started your company this year, and you started with one vehicle, and now you're already up to running 4 vehicles a day.
Mm-hmm.
How are you scaling your business so fast?
I do a lot of, so one thing I learned that as an entrepreneur, if you're comfortable, you're not in the right spot, right? In order to grow, you have to be uncomfortable. And for me, I'm an introvert. And for me, getting out and talking to people and promoting the business and doing my elevator pitch to the right people, that took me out of my comfort zone, but it allowed me to grow my business. I do a lot of resource events in the community. So if there's a health fair somewhere, I'm there with our our table, and we passing out, swag bags, and it has all of our information in it. And what I found was, a lot of people think that when you do those resource events, you're attracting actual potential clients. But what I found was I was attracting, business connections and networking connections, which is how I was able to get the contract with the Transportation Authority. You're talking to different, when you talk and meet with the people that make the decisions in your community. So you're talking to council members, you're talking to mayors, you're talking to people who's over the Department of Aging. So you're getting right to the root of the person that can help get these contracts, and letting them know, hey, there's a need, as far as an example, insurance does not cover leisure transportation for individuals, right? But as I mentioned before, although insurance doesn't cover leisure transport, right, that is a major part of people's mental, right? So why you have a growing number of our baby boomers who are aging in place, right? Mm-hmm. And they're living alone. And one major gap that I found was transportation, right? And so I went and talked to, as an example, the director of Department of Aging, and I asked the question, hey, what are we doing to support, our seniors who are aging in place, to help them go grocery shopping, help them go to, get vaccinated, to these vaccine appointments, things like that, where these types of means of transportation are not covered under the insurance. And, the first question they say is, they say, we haven't thought about that. Thank you for bringing it up. And so there's a need. So when, with the transportation industry, specifically as it relates to non-emergency transportation, there is definitely a gap. And so when I go out and talk to these people, and I'm letting them know, hey, we're here to fill this gap, right? Those are the contracts that I've been able to touch base with, because now they put us in touch. They put us in contact with facilities who are adult daycare centers, right? Who need transportation for those that are aging to come to their centers, or they'll put us in contact with memory care facilities who need transportation for, those who are on dialysis that need to transport. They may have like Alzheimer's, or they have those contacts, and they can talk to the right person for you. So that's kind of how I did it. I didn't really go, I know a lot of transportation providers, they do a lot of boots to ground, and they go and knock on doors, but I went into I went and talked to our council members. I talked to, like I said, our mayors. I went to different events such as what do you call it when they're running for office, like fundraising events, right? And talk to those individuals and let them know, hey, we're here, this is what we're doing, and we're trying to fill this gap in our community. I know that you're running for office. What are you going to do to help this community of people, right? And so by having those conversations, they put me in contact with the right people to make, those things happen. And those were some of the larger contracts that I was able to obtain.
Okay. That is a really smart and efficient way of networking rather than banging on doors and
Right.
going all over the place. Straight to the
Straight to the
government
head.
officials.
Straight to the head. Straight to the head.
I like it. Okay. Let's get into the nuts and bolts a bit more now. So you've done the right kind of networking, generating demand for your business, filling in the needs, social determinants of health. You need to get your, business essentials in place, right? Like your insurance, your vehicles, your drivers.
Right.
Tell us about how you're actually practically putting the pieces together to grow the business.
So my drivers, I go through, one of the main things that I've done is I use the Small Business Administration, SBA, as a resource as well. And they were very helpful. I was able to get a lot of my drivers through the Workforce Development Board. And so they provide on-the-job training for employees that you want to hire. Specifically with B811, we're looking for, driving experience is a plus. But what I tell everyone who I've interviewed, what we're looking for specifically is an individual that comes along with empathy. Like, I can teach you how to drive, I can teach you, you can do all the training, but the one key skill set that you can't teach an individual is empathy. And in order to be successful in this business, you have to have empathy of the people that you're transporting. And as I mentioned before, a lot of times, because these individuals are bedridden and they're very limited to the people that they come in contact with. So if I'm transporting you day in and day out, 3 days a week, 4 weeks, out of every week for the month or whatever, we know every last one of our clients by first name. We know their family history, where they come from, their background. We're in contact with their family members, their wives, their kids. They call us, if they need. We had a client who was on oxygen, and we transport her all the time, and she needed some distilled water because her oxygen tank was running out of water. She didn't have anybody else to call, right? And so she called us and said, do you mind bringing some water, because my oxygen is, it needs water or whatever. And that comes from us having that sense of empathy with all of our clients. And so we've partnered with Workforce Development Board to provide the on-job training for our drivers. And what we do is when our drivers come on board, we have them go through all this series of the credentialing. And then we do like a ride along with our current drivers. And OJT, or Workforce Development Board, provides that OJT funding. And so we're able to scale as far as employees because we partner with them on that sense. A lot of if we have drivers that come in with experience, then they would not qualify for that program. So it's typically drivers or applicants who lack experience in that area. And again, we're not too much concerned about lack of experience because we can teach you how to drive. It's the empathy aspect of it that we are most concerned with. The insurance, that was just kind of calling around. We attended the NEMT conference. This will be our second year that we attended this year. So we made a lot of contacts then, and did a lot of networking. So that's how we were able to find the right insurance agency to help us as far as getting the proper insurance on our vehicles. So yeah, that was, again, it's just a matter of networking and knowing who to talk to. I have business advisors who I seek out and talk to from time to time to get advice on, different areas that I may lack knowledge of, because this is all news to me, right? So
Yeah.
I would say, there's an old saying, if you're the smartest one in the room, then you're in the wrong room. So I try to surround myself with individuals who are have more knowledge in a certain area than I do, so I can go to them and pick their brain about certain things. So, and that's helped out a lot as well.
Yeah. Nice. And what's the plan for the business going forward over the next year?
So we're looking to scale in other counties. We are in the process of bringing on 2 more vans, possibly 3, and looking to scale into other counties and other facilities. We do have a couple of larger contracts in the making. We have a contract in the works for Southern California for a facility, a very large facility. And right now we operate in Solano County, but we're looking to expand here within the next month or so to Contra Costa County and as well as Alameda County. And so, yeah, that's basically just scaling out to other counties with other transportation authority agencies. And like I said, other facilities and, transporting or being a primary transport provider for these other adult daycare facilities.
Okay. Let me ask you this. So you started out with 1 vehicle, and now you've quickly ramped up to 4 over the course of a couple of months.
Correct.
What was, if any, some mistakes you made or things that you wished you knew when you were just starting out, that pitfalls that you would avoid when you're scaling so fast?
I would do a thorough research on the vans. My very first van was a Toyota Sienna, and a lot of it came from the fact that I wasn't really looking at it being my full-time business. It was really like a side hustle. And it scaled very, very quickly because of who I was networking to and how I was conducting my networking with all of these individuals. So I was able to scale quickly. If I knew then what I know now, I would have selected a different van because the one van that we have, you only can transport one wheelchair individual at a time. So I would have selected a van that we can at least transport at least 2 individuals at a time. I would have selected a van that has a rear entries versus a side entry, because a side entry kind of limits the size of the wheelchair that you can transport. So I would have did a lot more research in that sense. I probably would not have gotten, I probably would have invested in more wheelchair vans than the ambulatory vans.
Okay.
I probably would have, marketed to more facilities instead of the brokers. If I was to get contracts with the facilities, the pay is a little more lucrative than going with a broker.
Right.
So it's just, it's a learning curve. It's a lot of different things that I would have done differently. But I mean, I'm not, I wouldn't change too much.
Okay.
I wouldn't change too much. We've been very blessed as far as what we have thus far in the business. So I wouldn't change. One major thing I would change, if any, would be the type of van that I purchased from the beginning. I would have purchased, like I said, more bigger vans that can hold more wheelchairs than the smaller one. But
Like, would you try to get vans that can hold 2 wheelchairs at once?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because now, if we have to pick up a client and let's say another client is, their appointment ended early or whatever the case may be, with one of our vans, we have the capacity to pick up two individuals at one time. The Sienna, we have to go drop that person off and then come back to the exact same place we just left. So it's not, it's more costly as far as gas and time. Like, the one thing that I've learned with this industry, time is of the essence. Like, timing and time management is crucial. Like, that is like the main thing. Scheduling out your routes and making sure that, everything is timed correctly is key to the business.
So, speaking of scheduling and time management, got to do a quick plug for Bambi. How has that helped you?
Tremendous. So when we first started, we were spreadsheets and the calendar on the phone.
Okay.
And that very quickly became very difficult to manage. And so scheduling with Bambi is been amazing. Like, so every Sunday we do our scheduling for the week. We assign the trips to the drivers and we assign the vehicles to the drivers. Like I was saying earlier, I have the app on my phone, so I can make changes on the fly on the phone if necessary. And what the one thing that I like about it is very similar to the apps that the broker uses for their drivers. The driver app is very similar to the driver app for some of the brokers. And then also like the feature where you have to do the vehicle inspection before your shift. And at the end of your shift, you have to do the inspection, which helps out a lot. We had a couple of vehicles that we had to put in the shop, and we were able to track all of that. So we went to the shop, and we were able to give the dealer a lot of information because on the phone, we were able to pull up the report and give it to them. So that kind of helped out too. So. But yeah, Bambi was a lifesaver. He was a lifesaver.
Bambi is a lifesaver. What do you think of the Run Bambi Run button? Do you use that? How does it work for you?
I do use it. What I found, so if it's just like, a lot of times if we have a lot going on a day, I don't use it because I have to be strategic about placing a specific client with a driver, only because, as I mentioned earlier, our number one is empathy, right? And so I like to keep my drivers with certain clients because they're familiar with one another. They know, the drivers know the client and the client knows. So I like to keep it that way. Yeah. So a lot of times when I do the Run Bambi Run, it doesn't, they don't know that this driver knows this client, you know what I mean? So I have to make some adjustments in that sense. Yeah. However, what I typically do is I'll do the Run Bambi Run, I'll let it do its thing, and then I'll go back and adjust it if necessary. I'll do it that way.
Okay. So would you say most of the time you're doing a Run Bambi Run and then you'll make some adjustments if you need to?
99% of the time I do.
99% of the time you're doing Run Bambi Run?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I like the reporting. Because of my contracts, we do a lot of reconciliation with reporting. And so Bambi helps as far as the reporting and making sure our numbers match our contract, our vendors' numbers. So I really, really, really like I use that a lot. I do reporting every week. Once a week I do reporting. So I really like the reporting.
Okay.
I went from 3 rides in March to 60 rides in April. We are in November. I think I had 70 rides last week. So it kind of ramped up from there.
Wow.
But my son, he lost his job. Like there's another
Competitor transport company.
competitor. It's funny how you notice all these different transportation provider companies that I've never even paid attention to.
Yeah, same here.
You know, so my son had lost his job in March 1st. He lost his job, and so I was like, yeah, you can't help me out, driving until you find, something else or whatever. And then, as I mentioned, we went from small ridership in March to it like increased over 1,000% in April. And at first it was just he and I driving. And he quickly learned the business. He quickly learned about, like I was mentioning before, that empathy aspect. A lot of our clients they love Jared. If there's, for whatever reason, I have to pick up a client, where's Jared? Or Jared usually drives this way, or he usually pushes me this way. And so, and then he's also trained other employees on how to deal with, he's trained them on wheelchair securement, because when we did the training with Howard did train a trainer. So he trained us on how to train incoming employees. So my son has trained other employees on wheelchair securement and safety and things like that. He's also trained them on the, like I was saying, the empathy aspect. But literally, I don't know where this company would be if I didn't have him, my son driving for me, because there's no way I could have handled doing this with just me by myself. And so he's kind of like taking the lead on all of this. Now there have been times that I had to sit him down a couple of times because, he did like a no call, no show a couple of times. And I had to kind of sit him down and let him know, hey, if you're not going to be able to, work this day because this is your job. If you can't work, just call and let somebody know so we can schedule accordingly. And so that was a learning curve for him. But he's has since stepped up, and he's been a lot more responsible and a lot more reliable. He is he's probably one of your biggest advocates for Bambi.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Sunday, if he'll call me, because I do the scheduling Saturday or Sunday. Sunday about 5:00, he'll call me. So I'm not picking up so-and-so tomorrow. I'm doing the scheduling right now. Give me a second. So he's always watching and looking and updating, looking for updates on Bambi. Always. He is one of the biggest fans of Bambi. He lives and breathes that Bambi driver app. That's his go-to for everything. And he'll even say, hey, so I don't have so-and-so on my schedule. Oh, I forgot to add him. I forgot to. Or if we have an on-demand call or something,
Yeah.
And I'll call him and say, can you pick so and so up from this location? Just put it on the app, right? Because he's constantly checking. Is there an indicator that tells them that somebody was added on the app?
Like if a trip was added to his schedule?
Yeah.
So the drivers get a push notification when their schedule gets changed. If someone gets added, like a trip gets added.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he knows. I don't know if he's always checking it or if there's a notification on there.
We put in that push notification.
Okay.
So get updated immediately.
Yeah, so as soon as I add, he'll call me and say, so I'm picking up, so and so. Like I said, he's always on that app. So he lives and breathes the Bambi app. So yeah. But if it wasn't for his support, like I don't know what we would be with it. And it's good that I would say those who are fortunate enough to have adult children, include them in the business and teach them, even if it's just a learning. I have an adult daughter as well who she doesn't drive as much. She's more or less of a backup driver, but she knows how to do scheduling. She knows how to, run Bambi Run. She knows how to do the dispatch and how to assign team members to vehicles. So she knows how to use the app if I needed her to do so, right?
Yeah.
So if you have adult children that can help you, even though if they may not want to be a driver, it's a good skill set for them to learn how to. For how we look at it, is more than just a transportation business, right? It's a business.
Yeah.
It's more than just transporting Miss so-and-so. You're transporting your grandmother, you're transporting your auntie. And again, you're teaching them different skill sets. You're teaching them that empathy. You're teaching them time management. You're teaching them financing, budgeting. So it's not just this transportation business. There's a whole lot of things that they can learn in working, this business. And then only that, they may not want to be transportation providers, but I found with this, me having this business, is planted a seed, in them to be entrepreneurs. And now they're coming up with the coffee shop,
Oh, they came up with that.
They didn't come up with the idea, but because they were familiar with how to run the transportation business and everything that came along with it, they are able to run the coffee shop without me. I'm not always like, I'm here and she's running a coffee shop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but she learned that from, you have to start somewhere. And now that she's doing that, so Jared is looking to do do his own brokering. He's learning to do brokerage.
Brokerage for?
Like freight brokering.
Okay.
So again, I see this planet, and it opens up doors for other things because they're learning these skill sets. He interviews, like he'll interview different applicants. He's recruited applicants. He's recruited applicants for other providers that we've had before. Like this person will be good. I've seen him, and he's recruited for us, and it's just good. It's good all the way around in so many different areas. It's a good thing to have the family business. The other thing I would add, like branding is key when you have your as a provider. Branding is everything, and branding is not just your logo and a name and a slogan. Branding is how you present yourself. Like all of our drivers, they wear uniforms. They have to be in uniform. Like and how you handle the customers, how you handle, when you go to these different facilities, how you're dealing with speaking with the different individuals at these different facilities. Like all of that is a part of branding.
Yeah.
When you're driving a vehicle, right? Even though you may not have a passenger in the car, just how you're driving and your you're driving just around town, right? Having road rage and things like that. That's all your branding, because they see your logo on your car. You don't know who's watching. We've received so many clients just off of our vans, and they're seeing a logo and the number on the van, and they'll call us. I see your driver, and he was so patient. We have had other clients that were at the dialysis center, and they were paying attention to how our drivers were so attentive to these clients. They reached out to us. We want you to drive for us, right?
And that's how you got new business from dialysis centers.
Yes.
Just because of how your drivers.
Yes. And all of that is a part of your brand.
Yeah.
Right? All of that is branding. So people think, oh, branding is just your logo and a slogan. No, branding is how you represent and you present your organization, your business, which is key.
Right. Entirely different topic. So you've been to the NEMT conference for the last 2 years in a row.
Correct.
2022 and 2023. What are your thoughts on the conference as an NEMT business owner, and conference attendee? Like, what kind of value have you gotten from it? What do you think of it?
So the first year I went because I was trying to seek out information about this industry. I knew nothing about the industry. And so I was just kind of there, kind of feeling myself, through, and made a couple of connections. One of the main connections was with Howard. I was following MJ, Reliable Transportation, Monica and Jasmine, and I was surprised and happy to see them speak at the first conference and actually meet them. I felt like a groupie. I was like, oh my God, there they are. Felt like a total groupie, but just meeting those, just kind of just seeing and the different things that are involved with the industry. All right. Second time that I went, because I was working in the industry, my focus was a little different. Like when they were talking about where the industry is going and things of that nature, I was paying more attention to that, because I know now that has an effect on my business as a whole, the future of NEMT and things like that. So like some of those larger sessions. So the first year I didn't really go because I didn't know what they were talking about. I had no clue what they were talking about, right? I was more or less trying to go into the smaller sessions to learn more specific details about the industry. But the second time I went to some of the larger sessions and was learning more about where the industry is headed, and things of that nature, because now I'm a little bit more involved, and it makes sense. Now I know what they were talking about. Last year I had no clue what they were talking about. And I think each year, and then I knew specifically with the different vendors who I needed to talk to help with what I'm doing now. Last year, I didn't know. I kind of went to everybody, was getting the feel for everything, and like I said, just kind of feeling my way around. This year, I knew I had a little bit more of a direct focus on who I wanted to talk to, who I needed information from. And then now, this last time, I was able to connect with other providers to kind of see what they're doing, like some that were more that have been in the industry for a longer period of time, I met a provider who operates in, his company operates in Colorado, and I think he lives in, because he was on your panel.
Oh, Chris Dioria.
Chris.
Yeah.
Our buddy Chris. His business operates in one state, and he lives in a completely different state.
Yeah.
So he's running his business remotely, right?
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. And so talking and networking with those folks, and just kind of learning from everyone else on, I learned from Chris. One of the things I learned from Chris was have a backup truck. I didn't think about that. There's going to be times where your truck is going to break down. And my thought process, so this is a brand new truck, is 20, so what years? We're 23, this is brand new 2022 van. It's not going to break down. Guess what? It broke down. I mean, even if you have to take your van offline to get a car wash or to get it wrapped or to get an oil change or whatever the case may be, you need to have a backup van. I didn't think about that. And so when I talked with Chris, he was saying that he had X number of vans, but then he has like 4 or 5 backup vans just in case for whatever reason he has to take one of his vans offline. So it's like the second year, you go on a completely different, purpose than the first year. So I think each year you learn something different. It's just a matter of where you're at in the business, what you're going to get out of it. But yeah, I think they're great. I can't wait till they come on the West Coast.
Oh. Yeah, I think next year is in Glendale, Arizona.
Yeah, I think that'll be great. It'll be hot. But yeah. That's the other thing. Go to your transportation authority board meetings. Be a part of that to know what's happening in the transportation industry, right? I made a lot of connections there. Just attending those board meetings and listening to the community when they come speak at these events or these meetings. And sometimes they're monthly or bi-monthly meetings, and just hearing what their need is, right? And so I can fill that gap, right? And then you present that to the transportation authority and say, hey, we can fill that gap, we can fill that need. Because we're in transportation, so.
So you don't do trips most days, right? Yourself, or do you these days?
So in the beginning, so my whole thing was I didn't want to be an owner operator. So when I designed it whereas I was just handling office work, because mind you, I was still working full time.
Right.
So I didn't have the ability to transport because I was still working full time.
Yeah.
And so I started off as a as a non-operator. And so I kind of wanted to keep it that way. But because we scaled so quickly, I had no choice but to, jump behind the wheel from time to time to help out. So, and then now with the coffee shop running, I'm behind the wheel more often than not, transporting and being a backup driver and things of that nature. But we're in the final stages of bringing on a new employee. So I'm hoping to have this gentleman up and running with all his credentialings completed sooner than later so he can, take on, because by me driving that, it's hard for me to go out and get new contracts if I'm behind the wheel all the time.
Right.
But gotta make that sacrifice. But it's good to get out here and, see what's going on, because if you know the business from the ground up, you know what I mean? You know how to plan things accordingly.
Yeah.
Versus someone that never used the app because they were never a driver, right?
Yeah.
They don't know how to do dispatch because they never driven the routes.
All right. Successful ride along.